Hello everyone and welcome to tutorial number 22 in a series of video tutorials for Java programming. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button and click on the bell icon as well to stay up to date with every tutorial I upload on my channel. In the last tutorial, I discussed about the return statement, objects, constructors, and I also discussed about the this keyword. Okay. Then after that, I discussed about the types of constructors also, like parameterized and copy constructor. So in this tutorial, we are going to continue from where we left in the last tutorial. And the next tutorial, I will be discussing with the help of the PPT. So next tutorial will be a theoretical part. So now let's get started. So first of all, I'm going to start with this parameterized methods. So we have already discussed this parameterized methods in the last tutorial itself. So let us just discuss this concept once. So parameterized methods are those methods which accept a parameter, like for example which accept an argument, like just like this main method is there. Okay, it is accepting an argument of array of string. So this is a parameterized method. Okay, so if you create any custom method, like for example if I say like public int like yesterday I created a square. Okay, so right now I'm going to create a method for factorial. Okay, factorial int n. So what is the meaning of this function is that definition is that this is the name of this function is factorial, the return type is integer type, access control is public. Okay, and it is accepting a parameter of integer data type. Okay, so that is meaning of this particular statement. So then after that, obviously you can return the value very easily for I int I equals to 1, I less than equals to n, I plus plus. Then after that, you're going to return the value. So int fact equals to 1. Okay, int fact equals to 1. So basically, you are initializing the factorial. Okay, this is the initial value, factorial multiplied equals to I. Okay, so I am using the shortcut operator here. If you don't know what this operator is doing, I already explained in one of my previous tutorials. So then after that, I am going to return this fact. So that is what this function is going to do. Then after that, I am going to simply put system.out.println. Now, how am I supposed to call the parameterized function or parameterized method? Simply write the method name. Okay. Obviously, this is not a static method. So first of all, I'm going to make it static. Okay. So static methods, always remember one thing, static methods, they can be called without creating an object. Okay. But non-static method, they have to be called, by creating an object only. Okay. Because this is a static context, main method is always static in nature. So if I am calling a static method from main method, I don't need to create an object. I can simply write factorial and I can write 5 over here. So this factorial means this is the name of the function and this 5 is the value of n. You can even see here, n is displaying. So basically this is copy by value actually. Okay, this is copy by value. Okay, that also the concept I will be explaining right now. So after this, using the help of swapping the variable. So right now, if I press this run button, the answer is going to be 120. Okay, because 5 factorial is 120, right? So that is going to be the output. In much the same manner, if I give 8 as the input, then output will be 40,320, 40320. All right. So now I am going to, this is how the parameterized methods work. Okay, they are going to accept a parameter, and then we are going to call this method simply by writing the name of the function. Then after that, parenthesis will be opened. Then depending upon the number of parameters, like for example here, if I have one more parameter, okay, then I have to write one more parameter here. So in that way, the concept is going to work. If there are 3 parameters or 4 parameters here, then there will be 4 parameters in the main method also. Like when I am calling it, okay, then there will be 4 parameters over here. So that is how this concept is going to work. Now I'm going to explain the concept of copy by value and copy by reference. Actually, I have not mentioned it here, but I suddenly remember that. So let me go with it right now. So copy by value and copy by reference, which is a very, very important concept. So I'm just going to make this void. Okay. Then I'm going to swap these two numbers. So, in order to swap two numbers, there are two ways to swap, two numbers. First method is to create a third variable. All right. So this is the first method. Then after that, n equals to m and m equals to temp. Then after that, I'm going to print the values of system dot out print ln n. Then after that, m. Okay. So if you remember in the last tutorial itself, I told you why I'm adding this particular string. Okay, if I don't add this string, the value of n and m will get added and it will get displayed. But if I add this string, the only the value of n and the value of m will be printed. Or you can even write /t here. Okay, so then after that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to print these values before swapping first. Okay, so these are the values before swapping. Okay, and after swapping, these are the values. Okay, so now let us, I need to first call this method. So swap, let us say I am doing 6, 5. Okay, so before swapping the value of, it will be showing 6, 5. Then after that, it will be showing 5, 6. So let us do that. Okay, so what exactly is called by value is that right now you are seeing that the output is coming properly. So what is called by value is that like for example now I gave the integers value directly. If I create a separate variable, let us say int n equals to 6, okay, m equals to 5, and if I put n and m here, okay, then after that if I print the value here, okay, if I print the value in the main function, then what you should understand is that the value is not interchanged in the main function. Okay, this is I am going to write a main function here. This is inside the main function. So inside the main function, it is not modified. Okay, so inside the main function, the value of n is going to remain as 6 and the value of m is going to remain as 5 because it is called by value. It is not called by reference, so it is called by value. And because of that reason, it is going to remain the same 6 and 5. Okay, so I'm going to add one more /t here that, okay, in order to give space in between those values. And you can see right here that in this swap function, the values are getting swapped inside the swap function. The value of n, it has become 5, okay, and the value of m, it has become 6. But however, inside the main function, the value of n, it still remains 6, and m, the value of m, it is remaining as 5. It is remains 5. The reason why this is happening is because this is called by value. Okay, so if I'm calling the value, okay, the what is going to happen is the value of n, it will simply be copied to this particular function. Okay, it is not going to affect this main n and m. It is going to affect only these particular values. Okay, because of that reason only the value of n is becoming 5 and value of m in the swap function. I'm saying the value of n in the swap function, it becomes 5 and value of m in the swap function, it is becoming as 6. But however, the value of n in the main function, it is remaining 6 and m, it is remaining 5. It is not getting interchanged. So this is called a value. Okay, because I am not copying the references, I am only copying the values. So if I copied the reference, actually it would be 5, 6 here, but Java, it does not support copy by reference, okay, for values like this. However, it supports copy by reference only for objects. Like for example, let us you know right here now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create two references here, tutorial t1 then tutorial T2. So now what I'm going to do here is, I think even here also the call by value is only going to going to happen, I think. So but let me see what is going to happen. So the thing is, first of all I need to create two objects, T1 and T2. So T1 equals to new tutorial, okay, then T2 equals to new tutorial. So I'm going to create this two objects, okay. After creating the objects, okay, what I'm doing is I'm calling this particular method. So I'm going to call this particular method by using this particular statement. The name of the function is swap, then T1, then after that T2. All right. So now I have called this function. So inside this function, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create object, temporary variable, obviously, okay, because we cannot use a single variable here, or two variables here, like you can swap two numbers even without using the third variable, but that is not possible in this case, okay, because we cannot add and subtract like that method, we cannot use that particular method. So I'm going to do like this: temp equals to T2, temp equals to T1, sorry, okay, T1 equals T2, and T2 is equals to temp, okay. Then after that I'm just going to print the values of system.out.println T1, then after that T2. So let us see whether it is really called by reference or whether it is called by value, okay. So this is after swapping, and this is before swapping, okay. So I'm just going to add that additional word here, before swapping this is the case, okay, and after swapping this is the case, so that we will clearly understand what is going on behind the picture. So now I'm going to press the run button here, and let us see what happens. So obviously it is going to swap the two variables are obviously swapped. Okay, before this swapping, this was the value tutorial at the rate b4. Okay, just consider this part, tutorial at the rate b4. Don't consider anything else, otherwise it will get very confusing. Okay, and just consider tutorial at the rate 2f. Okay, then here at the next step this has become tutorial at the rate 2f. Okay, this has got swapped here and this has got swapped over here. Okay, so this is working perfectly fine, but what is going to happen in the main function? Let us check it out. So in the main function, obviously before swapping this is going to remain the same. Okay, so I'm not going to print that out, but what is going to happen after swapping? Let us see what happens. So after swapping, let us see what happens. So I'm going to press the run button again, and we can see that even in Java this is also called by value only, because this particular statement, this is existing inside the a swap statement. Okay, this is printed by the swap statement, and this particular thing, it is printed by the this particular statement, I mean, okay. So this particular statement is printed by this particular statement, okay, and you can see that the values of this and this are completely different. So in Java, even references are copied by value only. Java actually does not support copy by reference, okay. So this is the thing which you need to understand, okay. So either if I'm talking about reference or whether I'm talking about value, okay, like this is a reference, T1 is a reference, T2 is a reference, so everything is copied by value only, okay. So that is why the value is not changing here. Now I am going to talk about the overloading of the methods. So overloading of the methods, so now let us create a method, okay. So I think the method is for let us say adding numbers, let us say, okay. So in the first case, I am creating, obviously it has to take a minimum of two parameters, int a, int b. Okay, so that is the thing, first thing which I am doing, return a plus b. Okay, then after that, I am creating another add method which is taking three parameters. Okay, so int a, int b, then after that I'm typing int c. So I'm creating all this method, this is function overloading basically. Okay, so now what thing which you need to keep in mind is that, okay, this thing will work perfectly because this is follows all the rules of the overloading methods. But what you need to keep in mind is that I cannot create another method just by changing the return type. That is not going to work. Okay, so I cannot create method like this public void add. Okay, I have modified only the return type. Okay, I have not modified anything else. I am creating like this int a, int b, then after that I am creating method like this. So this is not going to work ultimately. It is going to give an error. It will say, it is clashes with this, and both the methods they have the same name. And you know, this add intent, it is already defined in tutorial. Okay, so you need to always remember one thing. Either the method name has to be, even though the method name has to be the same in order for overloading the methods, but the number of parameters must be different. Okay, or you should change the parameter type. If you make this as double, it will not give any error, or if you make this as double, it is not going to give any error. Okay, so even though the number of parameters can be the same, you should change the return type. At least one of the return types should be different. Otherwise, if you keep this also as integer and this also as integer, it is not going to work. Because otherwise, you need to think like a compiler for a second. If I'm trying to call this particular method, okay, what do you think? Which method will be called? The compiler, it will get confused, between calling this method and calling this method. Okay, I'm reverting this back to int a, and I'm reverting this back to int b. Okay, then after that I'm writing here add 3 2. Okay, so obviously these methods are non-static. So I'm creating the object here, new tutorial dot add. Okay, so now what is happening? Ambiguous method call. Obviously, it is going to be ambiguous because this method is also matching the definition. This method is also matching the definition. Compiler is getting confused with that which method I am supposed to call. So, because of this reason, you should be very careful that either the number of parameters should be different whenever you are using method overloading, or the data type of the value, like here the integer, we are using integer, both we are using integer here. Here we should use at least an double here. If you use a double here, then it will give, it is going to call this method. As you can see right here, this add the text color, it has become yellow. That means this method is getting called. Okay, and these remaining methods, they have the color of black. That means they are not getting called. So that is one thing which is a feature provided by this IDE. It tells you which method are getting called, which method are not getting called. So if I comment this, it will once again become black. Okay, so obviously the compiler is telling that this method is getting called. All right, so now the thing is, this is how method overloading works. Okay, so I cannot make this as void. Okay, if I make this as void, then I cannot simply change the return type and call, I think that that is method overloading. No, that is not method overloading. I need to either if I'm using the same number of parameters, I need to change the data type of the parameters, or I should change change the number of parameters. Okay, otherwise it is not going to work. Okay, you need to think like a compiler first. Okay, so this will come all with practice. So this all I'm going to talk about overloading methods, and I'm just going to discuss about overloading constructors. So obviously constructor means it is going to what I mean by overloading constructor is, you can have default constructor, Okay, you can at the same time you can declare a default constructor, you can declare a parameterized constructor, and you can declare a copy constructor, because these are the three types of constructors which are available. So at the same time you can declare all these constructors. Okay, and obviously how we are going to call this particular constructor is, if you use new tutorial, then this particular constructor will get called. Once again, the color of this text, it has become yellow. Okay, that means this constructor is getting called. And if I if I want to call this particular constructor, I just need to add 5 or something, some integer value I need to provide. So if I am providing some integer value, that means this constructor is getting called. All right. And if I am writing the creating object of tutorial inside this thing, like I am writing new tutorial here. Okay, then that means this particular constructor is getting called. Okay, so that is how the things are going to work. So okay, so that's how the things are working. Okay, so that is about method over sorry, constructor overloading. So if I'm defining all the methods, all the constructors, sorry, within the same class, like a parameterized copy constructor and the default constructor within the same class, then that becomes constructor overloading. So I'm just going to finish off this session by talking about recursion. So then we'll discuss about this in the upcoming tutorials. So now I'm going to talk about recursion. So what exactly is recursion? Recursion is nothing but when a method is calling itself. Okay. So when a method is calling itself repeatedly, we are going to call it as recursion. So here I'm going to write a termination statement that if I equals 1, okay, if I equals 1, return 1. And otherwise, if this thing is not true, okay, you need to remember one thing, if I equals 1, only then this thing will get executed, otherwise this thing will never get executed. Otherwise it is going to execute this thing, return I multiplied by fact factorial of I minus 1. All right, so this is a factorial. Okay, program for creating a factorial. System dot, I am going to print the factorial of this number. System dot out dot println, let us say 7. Okay, so 7 factorial is, I think, 5040. So let us see what happens. So okay, I think I made a mistake somewhere. Okay, okay. I don't know why I did that. I just printed out 7. Obviously it is going to give the same answer. So I'm going to make this a static. Then after that, I'm going to write factorial 7. Okay, so the output should be 5040 and output is 5040. So that is how the factorial of a number is calculated. And I am calculating the factorial by using recursion. So if I remove this particular statement, this is the termination condition. So if I remove this statement, then it is going to lead to stack overflow error. So let us see what happens now. And you can see here that it is leading to stack overflow error, exception in thread main, stack overflow error. That is occurred because I removed this termination statement. This was the termination statement. So you need to be very careful whenever you're using recursion. If you don't either if you forget to give this termination condition, or if you provide incorrect termination condition, then this program, it is not going to work as expected. So that's all about recursion. So recursion is nothing but when a method is calling itself, and if the method is calling itself, then you need to always remember to provide the termination condition. If you forget to provide the termination condition, then the program is not going to work as expected. So this was about the concept of recursion. So okay, I'm just going to remove all those errors. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this particular tutorial. So if you have any kind of questions, if you have any kind of doubts, then don't forget to post in the comment section below, and I will get back to you when I can. And if you liked this particular tutorial, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next tutorial. So till then, bye.